Okay, beautiful. All right. Did you?
I'm in.
Let me.
Hey, Sage, what's up?
How's it going, Martin? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good, sir.
Yup. Another day. Hey, it's beautiful. Raining. The garden's being watered. I'm happy.
I'm trying. I can't come out of this. Okay. Let's see here.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Very cool.
How you doing, brother?
You know, just at the preschool for a couple hours today, and enjoying the rain, not having to water the garden. What about yourself?
We just came out from the rain, trying to fix this mess that we was left with here, with our pond situation. We hired a few folks to finish our pond, and none of them were able to get it done.
Oh man.
So it's just left to me and my wife to get it done as usual.
Well, it looks like you got a pond behind you too.
That's our indoor one.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
What you got in there?
We got listen, I think we have like 10 tanks in here.
Really? Damn.
We have three tanks over 150 gallons.
That's cool, man. That's
So,
cool.
so we're hobbyists, we got cichlids over here. We got some big guys, alligator gars, some dinosaur birches, some fancy ones. We got 2 salt waters.
That's awesome, man. I love it. I love it. We have one at the preschool. I don't have any at my house, but we got one in the preschool. And is that a copper cup right there? I like the style.
You know it, man. So I'm glad to have you on, man. I'm sorry that you missed the last one, but I think that this will be a good one also. There's a couple folks that were there last week. They're not going to be here this week because of work issues, but conversation is going to remain the same. It's going to be a positive one.
Oh, appreciate you. Yeah, I'm happy to get into anything.
All right, sounds good.
Open to it all.
Just gonna wait. We're gonna wait for a few more people to jump on here.
Perfect.
Yeah, looks like we have. Is that my queen Tony? Is that Tony?
Yes.
I
don't know how to do it. It's my first time.
It's all right.
And I'm looking at hot mess in California, so you get to see that. Can we talk?
Yeah.
Hey, Miss Tamika.
Hello?
And hey, Brother Martin.
How you doing?
I'm
What's
good.
up,
Hey, Tamika, how are you?
I'm great. How you doing?
Oh, I've never done this before. Oh my God.
Thank you for inviting me here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming. Thank you so much for coming.
I need volume. See how I do that?
Can we talk that? All right, hold on one second. I'm just trying to log in here because we had some technical difficulties.
Always something.
Oh my goodness.
Especially with Zoom, I find.
Yeah, Zoom is. We have the entire world using Zoom right now, so you have to expect it.
I'm still learning.
Yeah. Tamika, do we have Janae on?
Yeah, I think. Well, yes, she's definitely on. I don't know if she's.
Oh, she's on. Okay.
I'm here. I was just fixing my hair.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Janae, I have a few people that we're expecting to come on. Some guests that we're expecting to come on. I'm not going to wait too much longer.
Okay.
We're going to give them the opportunity to come on, and then we'll start.
Okay.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We have Stacy on. Hey, Stacy, what's up? I don't know if you can hear me.
To volume. So I'm doing it. Let me left.
I'm trying to see. We're supposed to have a police officer. Actually, Sage, you know who it is. It's Tiffany Bloomers, police.
Cat.
Yeah, she's awesome. So I'm trying to see. She said she would come on, so I'm trying to see if she can make it. And I told her to bring whoever she can bring. So I know her husband's a police officer as well, and so I'd love to have their point of view on things, because we don't always see eye to eye, but there's always love there.
And I'm just a listener this round, but I'm liking the activism I've seen from you, as you know, in your community so far. So I was just interested, and
Okay.
hope it's okay.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for always supporting, man. Thank you. Can't do it without you.
You're welcome.
Tony, please feel free to partake in the conversation as an elder and as an incredible human being. I'd love to hear from you. So just consider it while we wait for a couple more people to join us here.
Okay.
All right, I come on in a second. She probably is just trying to throw some clothes on.
Hey Tamika, did you invite Nina, Drew? Did you try to get them?
Through to this round. I didn't give him a personal invitation. Nina, I'm doing some stuff. She's running around, so
Okay.
I figured bring her on with the one with March Gallagher.
Okay. What I'll do is maybe in the next couple of minutes we can start.
Yeah, we'll give him like, what time is it?
We give him a couple minutes.
Especially with the technical difficulties. 3 more minutes.
Okay, that's what I meant to do. What does that do? Okay, all righty. The elder is learning now. I see everyone, I think.
You got it?
Yes, I just installed this app last week so we can do meetings with my family members.
Right, right.
This is my first time using it. We're actually going to try it tomorrow.
Well, this is a good test run, you know?
Well, okay, next time I'll be properly zoomed up too. Share my video, but it's kind of weird from the phone.
All right.
Sage?
Yes.
I didn't realize that was you until I put my glasses on and I can see the names down there.
No way.
How
Is that
are you?
Tony? Oh my God.
Yeah.
I am good. Oh my God. So good to hear your voice.
Oh, wow. Good to see and hear your voice.
Oh, I appreciate you.
Wow.
That's cool. I didn't know that was you. Now I do.
Okay. No, I did. I just got it where I've got some more than one person there bouncing back and forth. I'm not familiar with the app. So, oh, wow. I know who that is. So good to see that you're, concerned with issues in the community.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to continue the work that my grandmother did.
I didn't know your grandmother was an activist, Sage.
Yeah, she was a big activist in the American Indian movement.
Now, your part she was Indian, or was she just called to do that?
She claims that she has part, Cherokee?
Cherokee?
And then the man that she birthed my mother with was part Hopi.
Nice.
But they're also, we're just mutt. We're just a mutt. We're just a mix of many different things.
So you and I are related then, because I'm part Cherokee too. So that's what's up.
Hey, there it is. There it is.
Okay. I'm gonna have a start. Right now it's 7:06. I'm gonna have a start. I think that we can have people periodically jump in, just give introductions and everything like that while we're here, and we can start the conversation. Is that okay with everybody?
Sure.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, so I'm just gonna give some ground rules here. What I'd like to do is, if you guys look to the left of your screen, on the lower left, you'll see like something that looks like a little microphone. I'd like everybody to mute that just so that we can give everybody an opportunity to speak and to be heard. And as you're called upon, you can voice your opinions based on the topic at hand. And then because everybody's voice is very important. And I'd like to hear everybody's context on what's going on and stuff like that based on what we're going to talk about, okay? So we're going to do that. I'll based on how everything is formulated here on my screen, I'll go from the first person that I'm seeing to the last. And the way it would start from what I'm seeing, it would be Sage, then it would be Tamika, it would be Janae, it would be Miss Keys, and then it would be Stacy, as we have it formulated right here, okay? All right, so if everybody can mute, looks like everybody's muted, beautiful. Okay, so the reason why we're here today is because in the climate that we're in today, as far as society is concerned, we've had some tragedies that has happened in the past few months. It's nothing new. It's nothing new in the Black community, but it appears that it is something new in the white community, and it's kind of struck a chord where, in my opinion, you have two different type of people, and I've been having conversations with my Caucasian brothers and sisters who actually want information and want to know how they can help, and they're ignorant. They're genuinely ignorant, is what I like to call it. But then you have those who are intentionally ignorant. They're reaching out because they want to be combative. They want to debate. They want to prove the point of why what we're seeing today is really not a thing. They want to cast blame on everybody from our own communities to Black on Black crime to liberals and Democrats concocting this whole thing and trying to brainwash all of us and trying to have us go into a civil war. So because I'm having so many of these conversations, Season Gives, we decided to create Elephant in the Room, where we can create a forum where instead of us having these conversations privately, in my opinion, if you really want change, you will bring it to a forum where you're not going to just have my voice as an opinion, but you'll have a collective community of voices that can tell you what our experiences are, tell you what the facts are, and at the same point in time, it's not one-sided, because we would love to hear what the other side's take on it is. How are they viewing it through their lens? So this is a forum so we can bring all voices together. It's not a forum for us to cast aspersions. It's not a forum for us to leave angrier than we came in. You know, my intention is that we're leaving with more understanding and more education when we log off of this forum. Okay? So that's the reason for Elephant in the Room. It's gonna be something that we'll be having every 2 weeks, I believe it is. We'll be having it every 2 weeks. Please feel free to invite those, because I know I'm not the only one that's having these Facebook arguments and these arguments outside and having these debates outside and these educational moments outside. Tamika and I, we were just at a rally yesterday in which, you know, when we're speaking on certain information, you know, you would think that it's information that's privy to everybody, but when you see the eyes, how big they get when you share certain things in history, and when you share some of the experiences that you're going through personally, you know, you see how ignorant people are. And I don't say that as an insult. I say that, you know, genuinely, that people are genuinely ignorant. So I'd like to start the conversation off with, I would like to just talk about right now, I'd like to talk about what are you going through? Okay, the question is, what are you going through as far as in your personal life, trying to explain racial tensions that's going on right now? What are you going through? If you're white, if you're black and you have white friends, you know, you may have had white friends for 20, 30 years. And now that you're having a racial discussion, you might see that that there is definitely there's a gap between you and that person more than you thought there was before. You know what I mean? So I'd like to really hear everybody's take on what is your experience as far as the conversations that we're now having, whether you're white and you're having it with your family members and you're realizing that there may be some underlying racism within your own family dynamic. You know, if you're black and you have white friends, you know, I can say myself that I've lost a few white friends that I considered that I literally would call them brothers, you know, but, you know, at the end of the day, you know, there's certain things that you just can't forgive. There's certain things that you just can't sweep under the rug. And in my opinion, racism is just one of them. You know, it's just one of those things I can't sweep under the rug. So that's the first topic at hand. That's the first question. Sage, I'm gonna let you jump on, and then Tamika is next. Just unmute yourself, brother.
There it is, right there.
There you go.
So for me, and I can only speak for me, I feel like I'm very atypical in all this, but I can share perspective. You know, I sat in many circles growing up. It didn't matter what you look like, who you were. You know, my first kiss was a black girl, if we're gonna put it out there. Like, I got nothing with anybody about the color of the skin. Actually, maybe I'm more pissed at white people than anybody else. You know, I think that ignorance is just a shield for them not to peel back any layers of the history of America, the United States. The United States is inherently racist. It's built on racism. And if you can't see that, if you don't understand that, then there's so much that you have to learn. There's so many layers that you have to hear about people's situations and environments. And I think that this is a great platform to start peeling back those layers. And then there's also intercultural competence, you know, is understanding how to talk to people, understanding how to be receptive. And it's really important to be receptive. And for me, you know, I sit in a preschool classroom. I took the initiative because we don't have a diverse demographic. We do to an extent, but like, I wish there was more rainbow in our circles, you know? And so I'm walking around with a little black baby doll, you know, because we don't have that demographic. And it's like, these kids need to experience that. These kids need to see that. These kids need to be a part of that. So one kid came in and was like, hey, is that baby made of chocolate? And I'm like, yo, no, let's take a step back. I had to take a deep breath. It's like perfect learning moment. And I'm like, no, this is his skin tone. You know, there's so many people that have this skin tone in this world. You know, think about yourself. You're a 4-year-old, you know, you like Paw Patrol, you like playing outside, running around. There's somebody that has that same color skin tone that is your size that could have your same name, you know? And it's like, that's the connection that like we need to think about how to get us out of this this racist paradigm. And it's unfortunate, but America, if you don't understand it, it was the exploitation of BIPOC communities. It was like, I don't need to say anymore. It was just the exploitation and just the destruction of BIPOC communities and their sovereignty, their own sovereignty. And that is what America was built on. It was on sovereignty, like to have authority over yourself, and that was your freedom. No.
I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that. You're 100% correct. But once again, what, you know, it's kind of like the context of out of sight, out of mind. And what I'm realizing is that, you know, our counterparts, if they haven't experienced it, you know, here's my thing. I'm dealing with a lot of people who the life that they live, they're saying that they've never experienced racism. And, you know, and this, you know, here's the infamous saying that really, it really gets under my skin, but I understand where it's coming from. But what I'm realizing is that a lot of white people will say, I don't see color. And that's supposed to be comforting. That's supposed to be comforting to the beginning, or into the intro into a very uncomfortable conversation. Now, here's something that I'd like to make sure that's an educational piece. As Black people, we don't want anybody to say that they don't see color, because the reality is that I see your color and I respect and love you for your color. What's up, baby? That's my granddaughter, I'm sorry. So, you know what I'm saying? So I see, so here's my thing. I don't want you to not see color. I want you to see my color and love and respect me because of my color. You know what I'm saying? Listen, and I like to go back to animals all the time, right? The same way that we respect and love the Chihuahua is the same way that we respect and love the Mastiff. You're talking about a 200-pound difference. They're two different type of dogs, but we don't look at both of them and say that all we see is a dog. No, one is 200 pounds and one is 5 pounds. You understand? So by saying that you don't see color, you're already missing me with that. You understand? So I love the fact of what you're saying, Sage. It's the country is rooted in racism, but what I want you to understand is that there are legitimately people out there that don't see that. They don't believe that. They don't believe that. And we're talking about over 450 years of this. If you're talking about the slave trade and the Americas, you're talking about 400 plus years. We're not gonna go to the Moorish part of it, of where we was enslaved by them. But let's just talk about that. So it's like my speech yesterday, I started out saying, when did Black Lives not matter? You know, we're talking about Black Lives Matter as though this is a new thing. You know, my point is that from the first time that a child was snatched from a mother and was taken across the country so that it can become property. Hey, how you doing? Got it? So from the first time that a family was brought to the shores and their family was broken up and a child was taken from a Black mother and she would never see her child again, a Black Lives Matter then, and we were screaming Black Lives Matter then. From the first time that the ships went to Georgia and those slaves in chains decided to walk back into the sea with their babies and decided that death was better than enslavement, Black Lives Matter then. And this is what's insulting to our people. This is what's insulting to our community. When we have to have conversations, that's the obvious, it's very insulting, because now what I feel like you want to do is you just want to debate. You just want to debate to debate. Tamika, I'm gonna let you take over from here.
Absolutely. Black Lives Matter should not be a political issue. It's a human issue. It's a human rights issue. I have the right to go into a grocery store and buy the same bottle of milk without having all eyes on me. You know, I have the right to drive and not be pulled over because of the color of my skin. So many just basic human rights. So, you know, to Martin's point, it shouldn't be a negotiable or political statement. It should just be a fact. It should be a matter. You know, that's what it is. So back to focus back to the original question. There's so many questions, so many times that we've had to have these conversations. It's hard to select from, but one of my more influential conversations that I had was actually with my grandmother, and she's passed away since then, but it just goes to show that despite so many conversations, and I mean, I spoke to her, I was very close to her, I spoke to her probably 3 or 4 times a week, and she didn't understand what was going on with Black people when she was in her 80s. She didn't have any comprehension of anything that was going on with Black folks until I brought it full circle to show her how it affected her grandchildren. So many times when you see somebody that's fighting for Black Lives Matter or are, you know, on the other side of the coin from so many of our Caucasian counterparts, it's because they have family that they've seen struggle or suffer or have an injustice happen to them or have a situation that directly affected their lineage or their immediate family or their best friends sometimes. So, you know, just that empathy piece, I think, is really something that we have to take time and show, because some people just have it. Some people get it, and that's you know, that's a beautiful thing. But some just it just totally goes over their head, and you know. I know I've told this story before as well, but another situation was we've done business with a gentleman, and you know, he decided to leave us with literally a hole in the back of our yard because of, actually, this is a perfect because I have two of the people that were coming to onto the post here because of the, I don't know if you, Sage and Tony, remember, but there was a gentleman that came on to my feed, and I believe it was about looting and about Colin Kaepernick, and he had said some pretty racist statements, and he got checked, I believe, by you first, Sage, and then Tony, you came on, and he was upset with me for not coming. Instead, while this conversation is going on Facebook, I took it as a teaching moment and was trying to message him personally and trying to explain to him what everybody was saying. And because I didn't, quote, come to his defense as a friend for his racist statements, we were left with a whole big mess and to what we're dealing with today. And, you know, it was just such a sad moment because this is somebody that's come over to our house, that's eaten dinner with us, that we've done, you know, business for years with, somebody that has traveled around the world and prided himself on wanting to stay in the huts in Africa and, you know, all of these well-cultured experiences, but still had no clue about the Black struggle in America, was totally oblivious to what Black people go through, and still to this day remains wrong and strong. And it's a really disheartening situation when you have somebody that has been, you know, at your table and knowing that they have these thoughts in their inner core. So that's just another story in terms of these conversations.
Thank you.
Tony,
So
go ahead.
since you want to be modest, Tony, what happened is that you put him in his place, and he was uncomfortable with that. And Tamika, you know, Tamika was working. What happened was Tamika was working, and she didn't see the post. So the way that she knew that it was there is he texts Tamika, and he just texts her these few words: "Your silence speaks volumes." So Tamika was thrown aback by it, and she asked him, "What do you mean?" And then he mentioned that the post. So when Tamika went back into the post and saw what you responded, I think your response, if I'm quoting you correctly, I think that you said,
"Your racist is showing."
Your racist is showing. So because you said that now, I guess he was expecting Tamika to jump on and take up for him and defend him in this moment. Okay? I wasn't even aware of the post at the time, because if I was aware of the post, I would have responded to him. He probably would have been upset with me. But the reality is that we were doing business with him. He dug a 70-foot hole in our backyard. And because of this conversation now, he decided he was going to abandon the job. So he left us with this huge hole in our backyard. Okay? So after this now, so after this now, I reached out to him now, and I had to kind of put him in his place and tell him, like, dude, you're completely out of pocket for that. You know what I'm saying? I said the way that you're handling yourself is only proving what you're claimed to be. And sometimes when people get their feelings hurt about something, it's because it's the truth. Mm-hmm. It's because it's the truth. So that's the piggyback on that conversation. But Tamika, I'm 100% with you. You know, it's very unfortunate. But here's the position that I'm in today.
I just unmuted to apologize if that's even necessary.
No,
I have used that a lot when people are hanging their little racist flags.
No, because let me explain. Based on what I'm about to say right now, Tony, you're gonna understand why your apology is not needed. Okay, and I want to also commend Sage for being an ally and speaking up, because I'm gonna tell you the truth. It's even more profound for our allies and those who don't look like us to speak up and hold people accountable. I like to use this analogy a lot, is that as a man, if I'm in a room with a bunch of men and there's a woman in the room, and if a woman is being sexually harassed, it's more imperative for me to speak up as a man than it is for another woman to speak up. It's more powerful because that means that you don't have an ally in your bad behavior. And I think that Sage speaking up, I have to commend you, brother, and I appreciate you for doing that, for speaking up for my wife. I appreciate that. So, but what I'm about to say is this, is that I'm at a place right now in my life that your friendship is not more important than the salvation of my people. That's where I'm at. Your friendship, and I don't care what friendship it is. I don't care what friendship it is. I don't care if we've known each other for 30 years. Your friendship is not more important to me than the salvation of my people, because the salvation of my people speaks to the salvation of my children. When I'm dead and gone, I have to leave back a legacy for my children. So that's more important. So if you're not going to stand with me, then you're standing against me. There's no gray area. I don't want anybody in my circle. I don't want anybody in my face. I don't want any allies that's going to tap dance on what side this is a situation you have to pick a side. And for years, we've been in a position where we've had people that surround us where, like I said, there's the elephant in the room, right? But everybody avoids the conversation because we've never had to really come to the forefront of it. We've never had to really come and really have these tough conversations, because as a Black person, I don't want to make my white friend feel uncomfortable. And as a white person, I don't want to say something wrong to my Black friend. And here's the thing, now we're going on generations and generations of misinformation, and we're going on with problems that could be solved simply by having a conversation. So Tony, you have nothing to apologize for. Okay, I think that right now, as people of color, we have to be honest, and we have to be brutally honest. We have to take a stance on where we stand.
I just want to speak to that point where, for me, it feels like, you know, I'm going to be 62 years old in a couple of months, and all of my life, I've always made the opponent comfortable. And it hasn't been comfortable for me. And I am grieved in a sense with myself that I've allowed it and handled it that way for so long, or allowed myself to handle it that way, or just tried to fit in with the norms and all of it. It's time. We're going to have some uncomfortable conversations. We're going to lose some friends. It's just the way it has to be. Our time, it's time for our truth and our time. And it's more than just police brutality. It's injustice in all of its ugly forms.
Right, absolutely.
For me.
Tony, if you wanna elaborate more, if you're done, because you were up next, if you wanna elaborate a little bit more, or if you wanna hold off, you can also do that. But you were up next. You wanna take a time out? Okay. So we're gonna
Okay,
go.
hold off because I'm not even quick with the buttons, and I only put the video in so because I thought my head nods were appropriate.
That's all right. No, what I was trying to say to you is that you were up next to speak, so I just wanted to give you. I don't want you to feel like you have to cut whatever you're saying short. If you have
No,
more,
I
if you have
didn't
more
feel
to add.
quite done either, though, was the thing.
I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
Was Tamika finished? I didn't believe she was quite finished.
Yes, she was. Yes, she was. Yes, she was.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's just been a painful time. I live in a pretty non-diverse community. I've been the victim of a hate crime myself personally. Just in May, leading up to Mother's Day, a nuisance neighbor was on his PA and called me the N-word and all sorts of everything. And it just doesn't go down that well. And the few people that I know here are not people of color, white people. And it's kind of that, oh yeah, I understand. And, they want to switch the subject. And I've had total emotional breakdowns like, it's time for me to say this. I've put it off long enough. I know it is not comfortable for you, but imagine what it's like living in my skin. And you get to just change the subject. So I'm just thankful that you all are here. I didn't think that I was doing anything controversial, but when I feel like, it's blatant, the racist attitudes or no empathy for what we're going through as a people, and they're willing to put it out there on Facebook, I clap back. I don't care who it is and whose post I see it on. Yeah, your racist is showing has been popular all season with me. So it's just time to change and time to have uncomfortable conversations. And, I admire you young people. I see you out there doing the things that I wish I could do, but I just, I don't have that kind of strength and motivation. I'm feeling like who's the comedian? I'm in the back seat. You all take over the driving, but you got my support. I'm done. I can't figure out how to mute it. I'm learning. Oh my God. Okay, there we go.
It's all right. Take your time. I just want to know. I'm saying that I really appreciate it. Any support. Let me tell you something. Any support that we can garner is extremely appreciated. I don't care if it's text message that I get or phone calls that I get, or every little bit counts. And I think that this is a time that we have to hold ourselves accountable, and we have to hold the opposition accountable. This is a do or die situation. This is the fourth quarter. We cannot afford to leave a debt to our children that we were supposed to pay. We can't afford that. We just can't afford that. And my sister here, Shai, is on here, and I every time she speaks, she says something that it rings true to me. And she says, I am willing, and it may sound extreme. What I'm about to say that she says, it sounds extreme, but you have to have that conviction, and you have to mean it. She says that I'm willing to die for my children to live. If you don't have, let me tell you something. If we don't have that conviction, then we're doing our ancestors a disservice. Because our ancestors actually died so that we can live. So if we're gonna half-ass it, and we're not willing to do the same thing, if we're not willing to put 110% in the salvation of our children, then shame on us. So Tony, let me tell you something. Whatever support that you give, whatever encouraging words that you give, believe me, it's an investment in the next step forward. Because a lot of times when we don't want to get up, I think me and my team, I think we've been to maybe over 10 protests. It has to be over 10 of them. And I'm gonna let you know, I'm exhausted.
I think it's 20.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, listen, whatever it is. But I'm telling you, We've been
Or
we've been to so many protests that we can't even count. They all run together. They all run together. You know what I'm saying? And we're saying the same things. We're stepping up to the podium and we're saying the same cries, and we're saying, we having young people shed tears, and we having grown people shed tears, and I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted from seeing my women cry. I'm exhausted for seeing my men killed. I'm exhausted for seeing our children ask, why do we have to do this? What? It's exhausting. It's exhausting. So please, Tony, don't ever feel like you have to say, and listen, on my post, you are welcome to say whatever you want to say on my post. Just understand that. I give you the green light on that. Hey, Janae, do you remember the question?
It's in the chat. So the
Okay.
the topic, I believe, was what is your experience with the conversations you've been having regarding race?
Yes. Go ahead. You're up next, sweetheart.
I need to hear better. Let me see if I can figure that part out. I have a little speakery thingy.
Okay.
So I,
Hold on, Janae. Tony, do me a favor, Queen. Could you just mute your side for me so that Janae could talk? Yeah, okay, good. Go ahead, Janae.
okay. So for me, it seems that the conversations when we're having it with other people who don't understand where we're coming from or who we are, the other person gets hostile, it seems. And for me and my fiance, for Tom, that has caused a lot of severed friendships. And, you lose friends, that's okay. But you feel like, personally, it feels like if you were a true friend, you should be able to sit down and listen to why this is important, why this is a life and death matter for the people of my skin tone, and why I have to fight so hard because I have a daughter now. So like, it's just frustrating because people are getting so hostile and then they don't want to listen, and then it's just like the conversation is over before it even truly begins. So that's the experience that I've been having. I've still been showing up, I've still been trying to have the conversations, but it's frustrating.
I don't think you should. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that what I've realized is that, and I think that Tamika and I have even spoken with each other, is that I have no problem talking for days with somebody who genuinely is ignorant and they just don't know and they want to understand. I have no problem doing that. But I'm not going to invest my time into somebody who is being blatantly ignorant, that actually want to be belligerent, and they want to combat our experiences. Here's the thing. You have two things going on. You have some people who are hearing about racism. They've seen racism on TV. They've seen it depicted in movies. They've heard about it. And then you have our community. I don't think I know one person of color that have not experienced racism at least once in their life. So now you're talking to a community who has experienced it. You're talking to a community who have experienced it's our job to educate. It's not our job to educate, but if you're gonna get a life experience, you're gonna get a life experience from a person of color. That's where you're gonna get it from. So if a white person who have never experienced racism is arguing with you, they're just arguing to argue. They're being blatantly ignorant. In my opinion, I have no problem cutting people like that off. And once again, I don't care how long I know you. I don't care. Because once we don't have to have the conversation, then guess what? You can hide your racism. How many people do we know that have black grandkids, or they have a black girlfriend or a black boyfriend, and they use that as an intro to them not being racist? How am I racist? I have a black girlfriend. How am I racist? I have no. You have people who are, just like you have functioning alcoholics, in my opinion, you have functioning racists. There's some people who can drink and they can function just fine, but they're an alcoholic. In my opinion, we have people that's around us who are functioning racists. So I think as I'm looking at my screen here, I have Floyd who's up next. Floyd, if you need to know what the topic at hand is, Janae, you can read that again for him so he can know. But if Floyd, if you know what the topic at hand is, you're up next, brother.
Just refresh me on the subject question.
Yeah, the topic is, what is your experience with the conversations you've been having regarding race?
Oh my gosh. Talk about the elephant in the room. I think I saw your post about that. Well, the groups that I've been talking to, I've now moved on from being individual discussions to having discussions with people of power, people that can make change, or people who want to make a change and are doing something about it. Because I got tired of talking. I must have been through like 20 or 30 protests. I lost count myself. Online, in groups, physical, here in Long Island, physically in the city, that's about 7. Online, oh my gosh, about 10. So I've been involved in a couple of things, trying to make a difference and trying to make a change. So what I've experienced is people want to they got tired of talking now. So they want to do something to make a difference. So people are now taking action plans. So right now I'm with the Black Alliance, Black Wealth Alliance. And so what we're doing is formulating activism, taking activism from one aspect where we are right now to monetary activism. So we're creating our own credit unions, we're creating our own community, our own wealth management, our own wealth building. So we're going to use funds that come in to promote Black businesses and to grow our own community, because we can't wait on any of the political parties. The Black Caucus in Congress is trying to get as much support as they can for the Black agenda. But of course, you're gonna have to wait and go through the process, right? So what we're doing right now is implementing these demands in person and making them become an action. So I've moved on from trying to talk to people who don't want to listen, to say, you know what, okay, you don't want to listen, you don't want to make active change, to now physically doing something about it. So that's where I'm at right now with the question you mentioned. I hope I addressed it.
No, that's beautiful. Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Beautifully said. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think, that's, once again, to your point, that's where we are as far as with this forum, the elephant in the room. I joined an organization called Harambe last year, and actually a little bit over a year, the founder of Harambe actually partnered up, in which Floyd, I know, if nobody knows, Floyd is a brother of mine. And I've known him from the city. Floyd, since we've been on in the Bronx there. I've known him from there, and we crossed paths again up here. And it's funny because we were doing our own movement up here in Saugerties, and he was doing a movement in Kingston. And it's crazy. It's just crazy. But you know what? It just that story in itself is a powerful testimony. But it's also sad that we could be so close. If you don't know, Saugerties and Kingston is the equivalent of the Bronx and Harlem. Like, that's how close they are. You understand? And for him to be doing something so powerful in Kingston, and us to be doing something so powerful in Saugerties, and for us not to even know about it for years, that's sad in itself, and it shows the disconnect in this area. But God has a way, and he brought me along, and he actually appointed me the executive director of Harambe. And so Harambe, that's what Harambe has been doing, man. We've been moving where, we don't ask questions, man. We see a hole that needs to be filled, and we just discuss it and we feel it and we move on it. So
Yeah.
that's very synonymous with what's going on up here, brother. Just to let you know what's going on here.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Because
Listen,
I'm tired of wasting time with people who just want to argue.
no,
They just want to argue and they don't want to make change. They just want to. They like the negativity.
Right.
It seems to be part of their genomic response, how they address and
Right.
rationalize their thoughts.
Right.
So I'm tired of wasting time. So we're taking all this activism into an actual financial.
Right.
Truck.
We gotta talk about that more too, Floyd. We're gonna talk about that on a different forum, not this one, but we're gonna talk about that more.
Absolutely.
Look like we got a couple more people that jumped on, but I'm gonna let my sis jump on. Shy, you know the question, hun. You jump on there. You're next, and then we have Stacy. That's Tyrone is on. Tyrone is on here. Yeah, Stacy's gonna be next after you, Shy.
Okay. So hi everybody, I'm Shy. For those that don't know, a member of Harambe as well. And I just want to first say, Tony, that we have a saying that we say at Harambe that we are unapologetically Black, and that means we're not apologizing to our white counterparts, and we're not apologizing to our Black and brown counterparts. We have to get to the point where we're not afraid to make people uncomfortable, whether that's white counterparts or Black and brown counterparts. We have to get to that point where it is what it is. If you're uncomfortable, if you're offended, then we're doing something right. We have to be able to stand up and stick up for one another, whether you feel like it's going to make this person uncomfortable. We have to be able to do this, because at the end of the day, we are all we have. We're fighting a war, against racism. We're fighting a war against police brutality. We're fighting a war against a pandemic. Like, we're fighting a war. And the war that we're fighting, we have to be strong as a unit, as people of color. And if that means that I have to offend someone to protect my Black and brown brother or sister, then it is what it is. And if I have to lose a friend, Martin said it well. I damn near, I say every day I almost lost my job to what I believe, like what I stand for and what I believe in. And if that's what it has to be, then that's what it has to be. So pick up that slogan. You are unapologetically Black.
Absolutely.
And that means we don't apologize for anything we say, nor anything that we do. And that's just it. And to answer the question, well, Mara, you already know, my experience is on an everyday basis, mainly on social media. It could be, me putting up a post that someone might not like, and someone, coming underneath the post, making a comment about it, about how they feel. And, as people, we can agree to disagree. There's nothing wrong with that, to agree to disagree. If I put something on my post and you don't agree with it, it doesn't mean that you have to come on my post and be negative about what I put on my post, because that is what I'm feeling at that time. Right. And these conversations that we're having on social media, because I honestly think a lot of my conversation is on social media, because I think most of the time I make people uncomfortable, presence-wise. So, someone might not speak to me in the manner that they would speak to me on social media or on the phone. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's because, I'm very outspoken. Sometimes I could be aggressive, and I'm unapologetically Black. And, so I get a lot of my stuff like via email or in my DMs or in Messenger, where people will come on and say something racist. And then sometimes I learn from Martin, I learn from, Tamika, I learned from Tyrone, I learned from my Harambe family how to be humbled in some of the situations, because we all deal with things differently in a different aspect. So I'm learning from my brothers and my sisters how to go about, you know, addressing situations in a humbled manner, because it's a way you can go on to be ignorant, to make them look at you and say, oh, she's behaving just like I thought she would behave. But you can bless somebody out just intelligently as you can if you were to curse them out. And that's what we do, you know, and that's what it is that I do. And if that makes you feel a sort of way or makes you feel uncomfortable, I always say you welcome to delete yourself. And I mean that for my white counterparts and also my Black and brown counterparts. You know, and that's just something that we deal with on a daily basis, especially when you're on the front line. You know, being on the front line, everybody don't agree to what it is we're doing. Everybody don't agree to, you know, you saying Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, and we're on the front line for police accountability. But when you speak about Black on Black crime with BLM, people look at us like we crazy. But it's like, I'm not just on the front line for police accountability. I'm on the front line to hold my brothers and sisters accountable as well. I'm on the front line to make sure laws are changed. I'm on the front line for white on white crime as well. It's just not, you know, being on the front line for accountability of the police. It's being on the front line for accountability of right and wrong, period. And sometimes you have an issue with that as well. Mostly that comes from your Black counterparts. But you just got to be able to say what it is that you need to say and not worry about, you know, other people being uncomfortable, because trust and believe they're not going to worry about you being uncomfortable and how you feel.
And, you know, in my opinion, Sha, sis, first of all, beautifully said. Here's the educational piece that I want for those of us who's on this call, who's here for some clarity. There are some conversations, whether you mean it or not, that are inappropriate. And in my opinion, when it comes to the hardship and the struggle of Black people in this country, if you're not coming with an open heart to assist and become an ally, and you're here to question, it's inappropriate. I'm gonna tell you why. As a man, once again, analogy, as a man, right? If there has been a woman that has been sexually abused or has gone through some type of sexual trauma, it is not my place to question her. It's not my place to question if what she's gone through is real or if it's not. That's not my place. If I'm gonna open my mouth to that woman, I'm there to lend my support, and I'm there to get educated on what happened, what can I do to help you. That's genuine. But what I'm finding is that we legitimately have people that are jumping on our posts, that's hitting me in text messages, hitting me in messages, emailing me. I'm getting messages that is actually almost questioning whether what we're saying is happening to our communities is real or not. That's inappropriate. It's inappropriate, and I'm gonna tell you why. In my experience, I have yet to see anybody question the Jewish community if whether the Holocaust happened and if whether their struggle is real. I have yet to hear that conversation come to them. I have yet to hear the struggles of what happened to the Irish and the Italians. I have yet to hear that question if that was real or not. Actually, when you're talking about the Black struggle, the Irish and Italians is used as a weapon to say, hey, you ain't the only one that it happened to. So it's so shy. What I can say to you is this, man, we have to change our paradigm. And like we're saying to Tony, and I'm gonna say to everybody on this call, Black or white, there are some comments and there are some approaches that are absolutely inappropriate. You're not in a position where you should be questioning whether my experience and what my ancestors experienced. Right now, Harambe is right now restoring a burial ground that have thousands and thousands of bodies buried underneath it. And they built houses on top of these bodies. What are you telling me? That's not real? You telling me we making that up in our heads? So there's certain conversations, in my opinion, Shy, that you're 100% right. You should not be having. You shouldn't be having certain conversations. And we have to get to the point where if you're not here to assist in the issue, if you're not here to assist and help us out of this time of turmoil, I don't even want to have the conversation with you, because now you're wasting my time with unnecessary banter. Stacy, I think you're up next, hon.
Hi, everybody. Turn my camera on for a little bit. Don't mind the mess. So I don't know any of you except for Martin. Little bit about me. I live in Dover. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Dover. Very small. We have about 1,000 people in our small town, and the percentage of African Americans is 0.79%. Real small, real ignorant town, which I never realized until a couple years ago. I have 2 children who are part African American, and my son was called the N-word at school. More recently, a white woman jokingly, as she says, said she was going to slap the black off him because he was acting out. So it's real. And that's the thing I think that is the most frustrating is, trying to educate people, and being a white mom of young Black children. It's hard for me because I don't know what to say. I want to educate them. I want to educate the people who come at me in posts. And I'll even go to certain Black friends and say, like, how do I defend this? I feel at a loss, like I'm incompetent to defend your community, and I want to be there, and I want to be able to have your back. And so a couple of weeks ago, a friend and I organized a small protest in town, and I was contacted by the town supervisor, who is a local who's been here all of my life, who was very frustrated with me for bringing this into his community, even though he didn't say it in those words. And he's asked me why. He said, I know it's your right, but why? I said, because I want to educate people. I want to bring attention to the situation. I want to unify as much as possible and show that, like, there are good people, whether Black, white, whatever, that will come together to support a cause like this. And I have to say, after more and more people started to say they were coming, I got scared, because again, it is a small town, and you hear about the riots and the looting, and then I had to put myself in check and tell myself, like, why am I scared? My being scared is so minimal compared to what African Americans experience every single day. So we did it, and we had like over 200 people show up in our little town. My son, I think, was the most touching of all of it. Like, he really got it. He's going to be 12 tomorrow. And it's hard for them, and it's hard to, I've lost friends over this, who say, oh, well, I'm not racist, but, well, no, if you have to put a but in there, there's a problem. Oh, but I love your children. Okay, but my children are Black. So if you can't understand what this movement is about, and you're not willing to understand what this movement is about, then I don't want you to be a part of my children's life. And that goes for family too, unfortunately. I think my hardest thing, though, is with all of the ignorance, is being white, not having the exact words, and then looking silly with my responses. So I try to word my responses in certain ways, or share, I've shared Martin's posts, or I've shared videos that he has put out, because I find, what's in it is really appealing and knowledgeable. But to get somebody to watch it, and if they're not gonna watch it, then my whole thing is, then I'm wasting my time trying to educate you in the ways that I can educate you. So that's, I think, all I really have to say at this point.
Casey, I for having a matter in Dover. I used to live in Armenia, so I'm very familiar with Dover and Oniontown and Wingdale, and I know how prejudices they are there. And I know when you said, someone said, I was wondering, was it Rennie?
No, it
Oh,
wasn't him.
Okay, because Brittany's very prejudiced, but I'm very familiar with Dover, and I have to commend you for even stepping out the box to even do a matter like you said in such a small town. And it's kind of like it's kind of like how we were in Rosendale, Martin. Dover's very small, like it's like Rosendale.
Gotcha.
And you know, I have to commend you for taking that leap and taking that step in even doing a matter there. And I wish we would have known about it, because we would have pulled up.
Right.
It was
Right.
really like I cried. I sat there at one point, somebody came over and was like, how's it going? And I cried. And, you know, because it was peaceful, and because here are all these white people who do care and who do want to learn. And I had one woman come up to me and say, you know, I've been saying forever, all lives matter, all lives matter. And it wasn't until recently that I feel like an asshole. And I said, but at least you're educating yourself now. You know, you're understanding it now. You're getting to the point now where you can speak up and you can you recognize, and that takes growth, and that takes a lot to recognize that the way of thinking was wrong. You know, I mean, just to have these people join in, and the town, some of the town was angry, and there was stuff all over Facebook, and then you still are trying to educate, and it's exhausting. And again, like, I sat there and I was fearful, and I had to put myself in check, like, I'm afraid, you know. And I think my biggest thing at this point is trying to educate my children, more so my son. You know, I'm a white mom, and his dad is not really active in his life. And that side of the family is not very active. So trying to get him involved in that culture and finding people and finding a network is so hard around here, because again, 0.79% out of 1,000 people, that's all we have here. And most of them, to be honest, aren't people who can educate my child, you know? So
Well,
that's where
I can say this, Stacey, and I'm gonna, you know, I have to salute you on what you've done. Just to let everybody know, Stacey is one of those people that anytime she has a question, she'll jump into my DMs and say, you know, MD, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? I'm doing this. A lot of times, Shy, she has let me know about her protests and stuff that she's going to, and every time we have one that up here that we're running. So they've always conflicted, but she's always had my support. She's always giving me hers. And the one thing I can say to you, Stacey, is that as a white mom of Black children, the most incredible thing that you could do to your children is educate yourself more on the Black culture. And I'm not just talking about American Black culture. I'm talking about African culture. Okay, that's one of the things that's hurting our community, and that's one of the things that is hurting, bridging the gap between the white community and Black community. Because understand is that if there's no education, if there's no reason to love a people, then there's a reason to hate them. You understand? So as a country, Black history has been whitewashed. There's no information that's given to our children or that's given to your children. Because I can tell you right now, my son, we homeschool our son. And I even mentioned this yesterday. We took our kids out of school, man, because we said we can't allow another generation to go through miseducation and not putting Black history at the forefront of American history. Black history is American history. So the best thing you could do that I can share with you is you have to ingratiate yourself in Black culture. You have to dig deep. It's not easy information to find because they don't make it easy to find. But I believe that the more that you'll find in Black culture is the more that you'll find in yourself, because everything in the world comes from the African genome. You understand what I'm saying? So in finding out about Black culture, you're finding out not only about self, but now you can pass that education down to your children. That is the best thing you can do for your children. That's the best protection you can give them, is giving them proper education and making them understand that although mommy is white, but this is the reality. You're Black children, and you're going to go out into the world and you're going to be faced as Black children. So I commend you for what you do. And yeah, listen, keep reaching out. Any support that you need, we're right here for you, okay?
Thank you.
And I put my information in the
I
chat.
got it.
You can look me
Yeah.
up on Facebook if you
I
have any
will.
questions.
Okay,
or
cool.
If I told you who my husband was, you'll probably pass out in your car.
We'll talk. We'll talk.
All right, I'm
He's
gonna
all up in Dover, okay?
let me go. I think we have Sarah. Sarah is up next. Sarah, if you need to hear the question again, we do have it in the chat.
Yeah, can you see me?
I cannot see you. I can hear you though.
Okay, well that's fine. You don't need to see me. Okay, hold on. Giovanni, you gotta be quiet. Sorry, my son's right here. I was just gonna say, so I'm a foster mom. I know Tamika through our job. And my first 2 foster sons I had were are African American, and I had them for 5 months. And
Sarah, looks like we lost you. We'll give you a couple more.
I grew up very Republican, not trying to be political, very, very ignorant. And
Sarah, hold on. We lost.
Yeah, we lost most of what you said, Sarah. If you have no problem repeating that for us, please repeat that for us, okay?
oh, sure. That's fine. Hold on 1 second. Shh, guys. Is that better? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. You want to go over there? So okay, fine. Sorry, my son's here. So I'm a foster mom. And my first 2 kids were African American. And they, I was at
Hey, Sarah, what we're gonna do, we're gonna ask you to see if you can, we're gonna come back around to you, okay? If you can get the technical
the
difficulties
store
out.
once, and the cashier he was meeting, I was like, yeah. Okay, that's fine.
Yes, I'm not sure if you wanna change your location in your home, and then we'll come back around to you, okay?
Thank you.
All righty, all right. I'm gonna go up to Tyrone Wilson. I was just talking about you, Ty. I'm gonna go with you. Ty, we're talking about the issues of the conversation, the difficulties in having the conversation about race with either our white counterparts or even our Black counterparts, brother. If you can elaborate on that, and do me a favor, something a little bit different. Just share with everybody, man, what you've done up here in Kingston, because I think it's incredibly important that everybody know what you've done, and especially speak about the African burial ground. I was just talking, I don't know if you were on the call, but I was just talking about you with that whole accomplishment that you did. So go ahead, brother. I'm gonna let you have the floor.
All right. Thanks, Martin, for that. Hello, everyone. My name is Tyrone Wilson. I'm originally from Harlem. I moved up to Kingston 18 years ago. I started the organization Harambe about 4 years ago. And pretty much I created Harambe because there's a rich history of African American people here in Kingston. There's so much history here. And being from Harlem, as some may know, if you are familiar with Harlem, we have one of the biggest African American festivals, almost in the country. We have one of the biggest African American festivals in Harlem. So it took me 14 years, to really sit back and watch what's going on, to learn the community, to learn you know, what was going on. And, you know, after I got, you know, figured it out about what's going on, I was like, you know, we gotta do something about our history here. You know, it wasn't being told, you know, and so I started out just to saying that, you know what, I'm going to create the first African American festival here in Kingston. At the time, I didn't know how I was going to do it. Really didn't have a plan. I just knew that I was going to do it. You know, once that determination and that passion hit you, nothing kind of gets in your way. You like this big locomotive train, and nothing gets in your way because you locked into it, and you know that's what you're going to do. So I had set my mind to say that I would do it by myself. You know, like I will just put it together. But as my journey started, I started, you know, meeting, you know, different people. My executive director, my assistant executive director is Frank Waters. You know, me and him connected, and we just started putting the pieces together. You know, we created the Bond Kingston Kids Fest. That was for the kids here, and that was a free festival for kids, directly for the kids. You know, excuse me. And you know, moving forward, I gave myself 2 years to create this African American festival. So it worked out perfectly. You know, we spent 2 years planning this festival, but in between that time, we started bumping into a lot of different things. Like we created Black History Month Kingston, which was the whole month of February of celebration of African culture. So we started that out, and that's a very big event now here in Kingston every February. You know, from the February 1st, whether it's 28 days or the 29 days that we having something happen, you know, to acknowledge, you know, the history and stuff like that. And also we bumped into, I don't know if Martin mentioned that to you. I think I just heard him say it. We bumped into a burial ground here, which our ancestors from the 1700s. So we have this burial ground here that's dated from 1750 to 1850. And these was our ancestors. These are I don't call them African Americans because they're not African Americans. They're Africans. They was the original ones who was brought over. So I don't call them African Americans. They wasn't born here. These are the true Africans who was taken from their homeland and brought here to be enslaved. So when that came to my table, I immediately jumped on it. There's no way I could not, take on the task. So we had to raise $128,000 to purchase this land. We tried to get it pro bono, like, hey, we deserve to have this, but that would have been too much of a fight, and we couldn't really afford it. They put this property on auction, so we actually found the auction. We had to threaten them, like, yo, take this off the auction. We're gonna get the money up. You just hold it, but you need to take this off the auction. And they did that. The bank did that. The bank was always located in Minnesota somewhere. They took it off the auction. I campaigned, me and our partners was the Kingston Land Trust here in Kingston. We partnered together to raise $128,000. But as you know, God is so good. And it took us 3.5 months to raise $128,000 to purchase the land. Now that we purchased the land, we own the land, and right now we in the process of restoring the building that's on the property. And one of my biggest things was to embrace our young adults, to embrace the youth, let them be our leaders. So one of the things I decided to do was have a bunch of youth, young adults, design design what this burial ground is going to look like. So we got 12 young adults, students from Kingston High School, that worked on this project for 5 months to design what this burial ground is going to look like. So for 5 months, they traveled. We took them down to 9/11. They went to visit 9/11. We had some other landscaping companies that they also engaged with. So for the 5 months, they was engaging, they was studying, they was researching, everything about what this land was going to look like. And I gotta say, they did an amazing job. The only thing that I asked them not to do was on the design was don't have nothing on the design that we would have to penetrate the ground. And they shocked me as to what they came up with, and it's a beautiful thing. And so now we're in the process of restoring the house that's there, restoring the burial ground, that's there, that's sacred land. The city of Kingston, New York, tried to bury this history. And that was another thing, they built houses, and it was a lumber yard, it was a horse carriage. There was so many things on top of this land. It was so disrespected. But we own it, and we gonna just do right, by our ancestors, and give them the proper respect at their final resting place, and that was the goal. We have the purchase. We're gonna create a place where the community can come learn how to farm. We can grow crops. We can feed people there. We're gonna have a community center in there to work with some of the young kids. Our focus is going to be teaching African history, because this is not what they taught in the schools. We are not taught who we are. One of the biggest problems that we have, and the only thing that we hear about us, is that we are slaves. And if it's not about, the late great Dr. Martin Luther King, you might get a little Malcolm X in there, Marcus Garvey, but we're not getting the culture. We're not getting the African culture of who we are. We was kings, we was queens, we was rich, our land was rich. We are creators of a lot of the medicines that we see today. We are creators of a lot of things that's right here in the United States, so, and they take that from us as well. They don't teach our kids that. So I think my part and Harambe's part is going to be to give our kids that missing piece, that piece that the school system refuses to teach and tell our kids, who they are, and uplift their spirits while they're young. Start waiting till you in the world at 25 and 26 to say, oh, we was that. You kind of already in a bad mix, just knowing that, you always got to constantly be in survival mode, because you're not taught who you are. So, that's one of our biggest things, that we have a big project where we're still in the process of that project. We did do the first African American festival this past, August 2019. That festival actually happened. We had well over 1,000 so people there. It was beautiful, it was very diverse. And the one thing about us with Harambe, which means in Swahili, means to come together people. So although we are a predominant African organizations, we don't show the discrimination of not working with allies and stuff like that. We actually embrace our allies and say, hey, come in, learn this. Do not step in front of us, but stand beside us. See, it's when they try to step in front of us. And don't get me wrong, even with my partners, they mean well, but I have to check them in places where, they stepping up a little bit too much, and I have to back them on down. And it's okay, it's all right, because they doing what they was taught. Like I said, we can't strip over 400 years of, this miseducation overnight. We can't. And I think that we really now, we kind of starting the real process of stripping down, so if you're talking about and that's not to take nothing away from the Kings and everybody before us, because it's because of their work that we are here right now and able to do exactly what's happening right now. I think right now we at a boiling point, you know, where we really have a opportunity to turn the corner on these things. You know, no, I'm not crying no more about no 400 acres in my mule, and no, it's bigger than that. You know, it's bigger than that. That would, to me, that's just a settlement. You give us that, and then you tell us to be quiet. You know, so that's enough about me. I don't want to blow y'all minds about me. It's not about me. I just want to say what Martin wanted me to tell you. But I do want to say this about conversations. I have so many conversations, and since we're talking about the elephant in the room, I'm not going to even focus on my allies. I'm going to focus on us as Black people of color. We have to understand our mental health. We all have mental issues. Every last one of us. It's in our DNA. It's the oppression. No, you wasn't there in 1700s, but the beatings and the tortures, it's in our DNA. You know, it's generational of oppression. Okay, the one thing that we don't do as Black people, we don't seek help for our mental health, because we feel like we don't have a mental health or we don't have a mental illness. We totally do. We totally do. And until we agree to that and really understand what that looks like and what that is, we're gonna constantly be killing each other. We're gonna we killing each other for stepping on our sneakers. We killing each other for looks. You're looking at me too hard. You know, we killing each other just for miscommunications. You know, that's a mental health, and we have to start digging into that and recognizing that. Do we have a systematic issue? Absolutely. Absolutely. We have a systematic issue that has done its job. They have succeeded. You know, if anybody tells me different, I would like for them to explain that to me, because the systematic stuff that they put in there to systematically destroy us is working, and it has been working for a long time. It has been working for a very long time. We just had a conversation on my radio show today about how we just started recognizing how we started leading up to our young kids now 14, 15 years old, carrying these guns, shooting each other, doing this, how we have the disconnect of Black families. You know, how we as Black families, you know, our families has now become who's ever in our household, like my wife, my kids, you know, and then a little few friends. But that bloodline family has been disconnected, has been destroyed. We don't have grandmoms. We don't have those 70, 80-year-old grandmoms that talk to us about history in our families. We don't have those grandfathers. We are 35, 40. We're grandparents. You understand what I'm saying? Think about that. That is a destruction in itself. You know, because when we have these young parents, and my sister Shah can tell you about that. When we have these young parents, 16, 17 years old, and they having these kids, what are they going to teach this life that just came into the world when they still haven't lived their life? Where's that teaching at? You know, and then now, I just said before, they started this about 10 years ago, if you all remember, how they made it to where our kids can now call the police on us for disciplinary actions in your house. I mean, they made it so openly. This was it was all over TVs, and they had billboards. If your parents are beating you, call 911. You know, that wasn't by mistake. That wasn't by mistake. That was purposely put there. And now what we seeing today, for real, those parents and those kids are now these young adults. Those kids who couldn't get, you know, that proper, you know, bringing up and that installment of life are now our 18 to 25 to 30-year-old kids now. And we seeing the repercussions of that, you know, of that purposely implemented system where we lost control of our kids. And now we even at the point where we are afraid to address our kids. You know, our kids, like I had a couple conversations with some grown men, and they don't feel comfortable with even talking to our 15 to 16-year-old, 17-year-old kids. But they say either I'm gonna have to hurt them or they're gonna hurt me. That's what the reality, that's what it is right now. So we had a war with each other, and we're in pretty bad shape. You know, in my opinion, we're in pretty bad shape, and it's dangerous if we don't get a grip on it. It's dangerous if we don't get a grip on that. And another thing, I'm gonna end with this, and I apologize for being so long on this. We as people of color, we are so distraught on so many different levels. Like we fight for different things, and we fight for putting people in positions. We fight for having people in colors in positions, and fighting to have this connection, you know, to not be, you know, left out or something happen, you know, we have somebody. But the moment we get that, there's attacks. I have more attacks from my own people than I do. I don't even think I have attacks from white people. I have more attacks from my own people than I have from white people. You know, about what am I supposed to be doing? What am I not doing? It's all about what am I not doing. But I remember being on that front line, and we screaming for people like myself, people that looks like me, talks like me, that barks like me, that stands up like me, to be put in these positions. Why? To be attacked by our own? You know, so let's talk about the elephant in the room. You know, do we really want what we asking for? You know, why are we not protecting what we asking for when we get it? Why are we not so supportive of each other? It's so easy for us to go at each other in a blink of the eye. They don't even have to work hard to get us at each other. They could just say, oh, this person said this, and you know what? It's a war. We're not even questioning the resources of where that came from. We just locked in on each other. So I'm very concerned about, you know, our state of mind and where we at in this process, and how when we engage in like a move, you know, a matter like this. I don't call this a movement, so forgive me. I don't call this a movement, because I think a movement is so temporarily. It's like once you get what you want to get in that movement, then it's over. I call this a matter because our life matters. So if you hear me say matter, that's what I'm talking about. A matter is as long as we live and breathe on this earth, we still have to do what we have to do. So I call this a matter. And when we end this matter, too many times we at each other. We quickly at each other, you know, and we lose focus. We lose what the mainstream you know, thing is. I'm not here just for police accountability. I'm here for people of color accountability as well. You know, there has to be accountability amongst us. You know, you can't sit here and say, you know, cops is killing us. Well, we killing us too. And I did look up the FBI records on files, and you all get welcome to go look it up. There was more white on white crimes killing each other than it was black on black crimes. But what you see right now in the mainstream is that if there's a argument on the corner between two black people, it's gonna be televised. So we look like we overwhelmingly killing each other. But you can go ahead and look at the FBI records and you'll see that it tells you different. But that's not what TV, that's not what social media, that's not what they're going to tell you. So, you know, we have to train ourselves to not just accept everything that we see and actually go do the research on that. And, you know, I looked at that 2019, there was more white on white crimes than it was black on black crime. So just think about that.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much, man. I hope everybody, you know, got an earful of that, man. It's just to show you we have some really powerful individuals that's in our communities. Tyrone is one of them. We have another brother here, Drew Andrews, that he's another one. I've known Drew also for many years, and before I even knew that I was going to be doing any of this, I think he kind of knew that because he's always spoken to me about stuff like that. But Tyrone hit on a lot of key points, man. A lot of key points about our mental health. Just to touch on some facts, there was forgive me, I can't remember the scientist that actually did this study, but Tyrone is 100% correct. Traumas. Any trauma that a person goes through, it alters the DNA. So what happens is that if you go through any traumas, it'll be passed down through your DNA from generation to generation. So what they ran the study and they found out that a lot of that people of color actually can go through PTSD from the traumas that our ancestors went through 400 years ago. So it can be explained why our people suffer with anxiety, why we're so quick to anger in certain cases. There's a lot of explanations. So Tyrone hit that nail on the head, man. It's what's going on with our people. It runs so deeper than what you see on the surface. And you know, we have to tackle, you know, we have to tackle all of them, which is nearly impossible. You know what I'm saying? Because theoretically, you want to tackle one issue at a time, solve that issue, and then move to the next. But because we're talking about life and death here, we're in a position now where we have to tackle multiple issues. Now, to Tyrone's point of what he's gone through, what I've seen with my own eyes of what he's gone through, he's 100% correct. A lot of time it's our own community that we have to be concerned with when we're doing certain things in our community, whether it be for jealousy, whether it be that somebody thinks that we should be doing it another way, or there's multiple organizations that pop up in one area. And, you know, in my opinion, there's some organizations that are not doing it for the right purposes, because if you're doing it for the movement, if I know that I have an organization that's trying to go in this direction, and I know CCE is going in this direction and Harambe is, it's not about who gets the credit. It's about the collaborative effort to get the goal accomplished. And what we're seeing is that in our communities, there's organizations that's bumping heads. You know what I'm saying? What Tyrone didn't mention is that, again, he's from Harlem. I'm from the Bronx. And something that's constantly being mentioned is that he's an outsider. I'm an outsider. Why do we have outsiders coming here doing X, Y, Z? Let me tell you something. The Black community is the Black community. So I don't care if you're from Georgia. I don't care if you're from Kingston, Harlem, Bronx, Queens. I don't care what it is. The Black community, in my opinion, is the Black community. When we say when we say Black Lives Matter, I don't just mean heterosexual Black Lives Matter. I don't just mean, you know, tall Black lives. You know, when I say Black Lives Matter, I'm saying Black Lives Matter. And by default, all lives matter. That's the obvious. You know what I mean? So, Ty, I really appreciate you, man. I appreciate you going through that. I appreciate everything that you've done for me, for us, for this community. It's just been incredible. It's just been incredible. And I'm excited to see what we do in the future. I want to move forward. Let me see who Hey, Sarah, I want to give you an opportunity to jump back on. Are you ready now?
Hold on. Can you guys hear me? I'm sorry. I have horrible Wi-Fi at my house with the weather. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. If you could just stay frozen, don't move. But you're just fine. Right now you're fine. We can hear you clearly if you want to go. Oh, you took a step.
Okay, I won't move. I almost gone. Is it back?
You are. It's a little shaky. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's a little shaky. You're going in and out every few words.
Okay, we'll try this. If it doesn't work, I'll pass because I don't want to keep you guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, right now you're good.
Is that better?
Yes, that's much better.
Okay. I'll say it quick. So I am a foster mom, and the first two boys that I fostered were African, and I really had a life-changing moment because I grew up honestly very ignorant. Like, I'm ashamed to say how ignorant I was. But I was at Tops in Rhinebeck, and I had them with me, and someone asked me, they said, the cashier actually said to me, he said, "Are those your kids?" And I wasn't, hold on 1 second. Boy, yo, shush. Sorry, I have kids.
Sarah, if you're still talking, we can't hear a word you're saying. Nothing's coming out. All right, Sarah, we're gonna come back to you because I really love to hear what you have to say. It sounds very interesting. We're gonna come back to you. We're gonna move on. I'm gonna go to my sister Jessica. Jessica.
Anyway, so the cashier, I didn't think much of. I thought I was just referring to if they were with me.
Sarah, we didn't hear a word. We didn't hear a word you said. Can you continue?
She said she gives up.
I can hear you guys.
Okay. So listen, we're gonna move. I'm so sorry. We're gonna move forward. Okay, we're gonna move forward until you clear that up. All right.
Fine. Go ahead. Thank you.
All righty. All right. Jess, you up next, sis.
What would you like me to say?
You have so much to say.
I've been talking all day.
Oh my God.
You can play my set off of Harambe Radio today and you'll know what I have to say.
So, okay, sis, so let me tell you what the deal is. We're talking right now, the topic at hand we're talking about is the elephant in the room. It was comprised because of, I'm sure yourself, I'm sure we all know that because of these times, these trying times, we all been having difficult conversations with our white counterparts and, some of our black counterparts. So we're basically talking about what difficulties, what experience are you having trying to explain the current racial events that's going on? What frustrations do you have? Have you had to lose friends because of it? Just give us your experience on that.
All of the above. All of the above. Well, right now, things is hot here in Rosendale since we had the rally out here in Rosendale. People is tight. People have got my number. I have gotten texts about who do I think I am, bringing this stuff to their town. And what I have to remind people is that we deep rooted in Rosendale. We 3 generations deep here. My grandmother and my grandfather came here by way of a couple of other places, Florida, Mount Holly, New Jersey, and then landed up this way. And they lived on Main Street in Rosendale for a little bit. My mother went to school here in Rondell. We went to school here at Rondell. So we're residents. I'm from here. So people get that mixed up also. But what I'm getting right now is I'm getting a lot of pushback in a town that claimed that there was no racism here, that there's never been any racism here, and there's no problems here in Rosendale just because a cop hasn't killed a person of color that we know of. So my experience right now is, I don't know, I'm still processing a lot of it because I got a lot of people coming at me that I wasn't expecting to be coming at me how they are. You know, I got people coming at me that I have protected in the past because they said they weren't racist and they didn't want people to see them in that light and they wanted an ally in me. And, you know, I'm not that person that takes what other people say and pass judgment on somebody. I try not to judge at all, go into that phase of dealing with people, but I always deal with people one-on-one, and it's how you treat me is how I treat you. So even when people were telling me that this person was like that, I was like, well, you know, he never treated me like that, and, you know, and I don't have a problem with him. Well, this same person, almost 12 years later, was the first person that stepped to me on a text in a very aggressive way that shocked me. It didn't stall me, but it shocked me. And I had to deal with him. First, I had to let him know who I was and who he was dealing with. And don't be fooled because I worked at Stewart's and you saw me smiling and stuff all the time. And I'm a decent person and I don't walk around slapping people upside the head like I used to. Don't get it twisted. I can go back there, but I don't want to go back there to deal with that. I wanted to deal with him on an intellectual level because he's not a stupid man. He's just misinformed. And he's coming at it the wrong way. Maybe protect his racism. I don't know. Or maybe he feels some type of way that somebody's pointed out, but nobody said anything directly to him about anything. But I feel like when somebody comes back that's white, that's that defensive about something that they can't even come back and have an intelligent conversation with you, their first instinct is to try to berate you or try to curse at you or try to intimidate you or try to disrespect you. I had to clean all that up first before I could get to a point where him and I could have a conversation. I was like, don't forget who you came to when you was in hot water before, when you dressed up as Flavor Flav for Halloween. Full
Wow.
Flavor Flav.
Wow. Okay.
Blackface Flavor Flav.
Wow.
But you came to me to explain to me what it was. And I listened to you. Now, I could have very easily been that person that blowed your doors off right then. But I didn't. I listened to him. And I listened to his side. And I told him where he went wrong and why people are perceiving what he's doing as what he's doing. So when the march came to Rosendale and all this stuff going on, I've been hearing rumors about him looking for me and he saying stuff about me and asking people around to make sure that he's talking to people that are close enough to me that'll get me the message and say, this dude has been saying stuff about you. And then finally, I don't know how he got a hold of my phone number. He started texting me Saturday morning. And the very first text message was, who the F do you think you are? Bringing this to my town.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
okay.
I had to rein that in. I mean, don't believe me when I tell you, you know I know how to handle the business. But what I didn't do is I didn't come back at him like he was, because he was like, who the F do you think you are, you and your white thugs? And I'm like, you are talking about people being thugs. We had a peaceful demonstration. We had a peaceful process out there. I said, but you're talking to me like the thug you're describing. I didn't even call him a thug because that's what he was acting like.
Right.
But
right.
I don't want to resort to the name calling.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm that person that I had to learn how to do it too, to
Right.
treat people how I wanted to be treated, to
Right.
speak to you how I want to be spoken to.
Right.
And if I can't get that out of you, then I'll speak to a way, but I don't want to lower myself. You know, I think more of myself than to have to talk like that and explain myself in that manner. If you can't talk to me like this, then go work on yourself until you can talk to me like this, where we can have a respectable conversation, even if you are a racist. You know, I work for a racist, a pure, straight, only thing I didn't see him was in his sheets in South Carolina for 8 years. Helped him and his business partner build his business. But you know what? He was honest about who he was. He never disrespected me. And in that 8 years, he had a different light on people that he was dealing with. You know what I'm saying? It might have not changed his whole world around or changed his everything that he was, but he had a different vision of Black people. And, you know, he wasn't stuck in some old way that his father taught him and his father taught him and his father taught him. You know, if you don't know, you don't know.
Right.
So I took that opportunity, not only to, you know, I had to make money for myself, but I also took that opportunity to enlighten someone. And then they could do with what they wish with that information afterwards. So I try to attack things differently. I have to pray on a lot of things. I have to take a step back and take a beat so that when I open my mouth, something intelligent is coming out. So you don't get that, oh, well, she's just a thug. That's all she wanted to do is curse us out. She just wanted to beat us up. Even though that's how you came at me, I'm not going to come back at you like that.
Right.
And then maybe you'll learn something in turn with that. So that's crazy. I mean, we gotta talk more in detail about that, because I'm not happy with that situation. We gotta figure out as a unit how we're gonna tackle that situation. They're not going to do that to you, but that's a conversation for another day. What I want to share with you is that that's how this forum got created. My wife, a month ago, maybe about 2 months ago, she was addressed by somebody, and we talked about this before. She was addressed by somebody who we considered a friend, a brother. You know what I mean? Just like you said, somebody that you never thought that they would come at you in this way. And you know, he was upset. He was upset with my wife because he was upset with Tamika because she didn't defend him in something derogatory that he said on her post. Keep in mind, she didn't even know that all of this was going on. Anyway, fast forward, he left a gaping hole in our backyard because he decided that because somebody else called him, not even called him a racist, but the person said that your racist is showing, right? And because he felt that Tamika should have jumped on there immediately and put that fire out, just like you did when your gentleman came in blackface and Flavor Flaved up and all of that, and you put yourself out there. He wanted Tamika to do the same thing. Now, because Tamika didn't do it at that time, he got into his feelings. So he left our backyard all tore up. Tyrone seen it. Tore up our backyard. He didn't finish the job. We didn't pay him any more money, or there would have been a problem. But you know, he left a hole in our backyard. Shit like that. Now, last weekend, that very same person, because of 4th of July weekend, because of what Colin Kaepernick said, he said that people of color shouldn't. No, he said people of color have the right not to celebrate the 4th of July because of what it meant. Because while you were celebrating your independence, people of color were still enslaved. So he's now out of nowhere, he sent me that text message and he said, now you're telling me that Colin Kaepernick's protest wasn't about disrespecting our flag and it was about police brutality? And do you support this? That's what he said to me. So I said to him, I supported 100%. I supported 100%. I said, let me ask you a question. I don't think that we have any statues or any idea or any emblems of the Holocaust of our Hitler in this country or in Germany. I guarantee you, if you go to Germany, there's nothing about Hitler or anything there. So if you're not going to ask a Jew to celebrate Hitler and what they talked about that he did for that economy and what he did for that country, why would you expect people of color to stand up to the national anthem and celebrate the flag if they didn't want to? There's many of us that do, but if there's somebody that doesn't, I support them 100% because really and truly our 4th of July is Juneteenth. Yep. You understand? Anyway, he was irate. Yeah. He was irate. And I had to put him in his place. Like you said, I had to
I had to intellectually put him in his place, and he couldn't respond after that. But sis, that's the reason why we created this forum, the elephant in the room, because you know what? There's a lot of conversations that we're having behind closed doors that I think that we should be having in the forefront.
Yep.
And my thing is that you could either take the opportunity to be educated, or you can intentionally stay ignorant. At that point, don't text me. Don't approach me, because if you really want to be educated and to figure out why we here, why did we come to Rosendale in March? Why did we come to Rosendale in March? And why did we come there as Harambe, as an educational piece?
Yeah.
When you spoke, you educated. When Tyrone spoke, Tyrone educated. When Sha spoke, she educated. So we're tackling things from a completely different aspect. We're not just marching and singing songs. We're educated, and we're talking about solutions. So sis, I commend you for that. Listen, we're going to talk about that whole situation further, because I'm definitely not happy with that. I'm not happy with that at all.
Don't you worry. Your big sis got it. She
It's
got
all right.
it.
It's
She
all
got
right.
it. I had to put I remind them that I've been baptized, but I said it's still down in deep. You don't want to open Pandora's box.
Hey, listen, it's okay. We'll have this conversation offline.
Don't be fooled by the cane.
All right, I'm gonna move on. Okay,
Thank
I'm gonna jump on. Hey, Drew, I'm gonna have you jump on this, man. Just to let everybody know who this gentleman is. I've known this man for probably 20 plus years. We worked in childcare together, and I've always loved him, always admired him. He's been in this community doing work for 30 plus years, I want to say.
30 years.
30 years. He's been doing work. He's affected the lives of many youth, and he's still going strong. Nobody knows his true age because he's ageless.
I know.
Hey.
This is my
No snitching.
This is my man Drew, man. Love you, brother. Go ahead. I just want to if you need a synopsis of what we're talking about race relations while we created Elephant in the Room. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of us are having conversation with our white counterparts of what's been going on since the murder of Floyd, and I know that my conversations has intensified. I know a lot of our conversations has intensified. I just want to know, how are you tackling it? Have you lost friends because of it? What have you had to do to kind of counter some of this stuff, these educational pieces, these conversations that you're having?
Right. No, I honestly feel this. I think we've been all going through this since day one. It's just now being revealed. It's kind of being put out on Front Street. But how I've been dealing with it is how I've been dealing with it. I speak what I speak. When I'm in this space, sometimes people cringe. It's like, okay, what are you gonna say? What are you gonna, they get to that space. I look at it like this. When I'm dealing with my own people, when I'm dealing with white people, when I'm dealing with whomever, it's all a matter of, to me, I feel at the end of the day, people want space to say what they want to say and feel what they want to feel. So First Amendment, freedom of speech, people let them say what they're going to say. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'm going to stand up for what I believe in. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to, so, at the end of the day, I feel I'm not going to let anybody redirect me from what my sole purpose is. And my sole purpose is to be here for my kids, to create a space for, support in a healthy way. And if there's any knowledge or anything to teach, I want to make sure I collaborate, surround myself with people that are smarter than me, that have a different way of doing things in my community to educate our youth and their families the way that we can. I'm thinking about, okay, all the things that we're talking about in terms of education, how to empower our youth, how to inspire and motivate them to sometimes motivate us. It's a matter of education. How do we expose them to that? We create forums for it. We talk about it, but we create forms and we actually move on it. When that brother got shot the other day, the first thing, you know, I want to hear, and this, again, this is not a conversation for the white community. There's a conversation for us. You know, that's why I'm not gonna try to bring in, I don't need all of our stuff. It's like when you're dealing with family, the whole world don't need to know what we're dealing with. We do that. We got this, you know, but we have to really have it. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, when you stay tunnel, I'm tunnel vision when it comes to what I need to do, you know, and I think in terms of longevity, if all this stuff is coming at you because it's all these good causes, it's always something to fight for. And then my brother Tyrone talked about that post-traumatic slave syndrome, you know, that thing, that trauma that's instilled within our DNA from slavery and from each other. The reason why we hate each other is because it's in us to hate each other. We were made that way, and being beat generation after generation, hate each other, so we can now rely on our masters. And I say, look, if we know that, if we know better, we do better. We have conversation. As much as it hurts, which sometimes I know the feel, grew up in it, and I see it all the time. We talk a good game. I'm sick and tired of talking. So I'm gonna stay focused. I'm gonna jump in a march, but I'm gonna still do some things that's gonna start working on like what you're doing. You know, when you talk about economics, that's real, man. People are kind of talking about it like it's a side thing. That's real. The reason why people have power is because some of them have money and they have knowledge, and some people work together. We're the only ones that's not doing what we're supposed to do, but we talk. I'm sick and tired of talking, man. You know, so yeah, I have conversations, but I'm not gonna let the conversation break me up from what I expect anyway. If I expect the white person to hate me, I'm not gonna, you know, cut him off. He is what he is. You know, it doesn't bother me. You know, do what you do, because I'm gonna do what I do. That's how I look at it, and I'm not gonna let it sit on my soul like that, because it's too heavy. It's heavy enough dealing with my own people. I don't need to take on that other stuff. So I learned to navigate. I feel we're one of the only races that have to navigate life. You know, we can't just live it because nobody allows us to live it. Even if we're not bothering anybody, we have to keep navigating and doing what we have to do. Everything is a chess game, right? Nothing is just straightforward. Everything is kind of, you say one thing, but you do another. You smile in your face, you talk behind the back. It's kind of what I'm used to. So, you know, I just want us to continue to have the conversation, but more, I want us to continue to start, look, as much as it hurts, let's work closer together. Let's work at creating places and forms for our people, our kids, and white people come in, our allies, they come in and see what we're doing on some of these things. But when it comes to us killing each other, we got to talk about that. That's not anything else, anybody else. We got to do that. And then we got to stand up to our younger generation. Then you said, I think somebody said something about it's illegal to, what do you say? It's like, what do you call it? Capital punishment or corporate, what is it? Capital punishment? What do you say?
Corporal punishment.
Corporal, thank you. Corporal punishment. It's not illegal. It's only illegal when you like break your kid's arm. You know, corporal punishment is actually legal. 5 states and the state, the Columbia. You know, it's not illegal. You can bust your kid up. You can't punch him in the face. You can't crack him in the chest, but you can beat him, and that's legal. I'm telling you, Darian, it's legal. Tap him a little something, you know. Nah, serious. You can't take a stick to him. Back in the days when I was younger, my dad used to take wires like out the back of something, and he used to smash us in the back and hit us with sticks. That's abuse. But you,
drop cords.
What you said, I heard you last night, Darian. You could, you know, I said, yeah. You can do that. And nobody can say anything about it because that's real. You gotta rear your child, man. So, you know, you need that sometimes. You gotta give them the look. You gotta do that. But brother Martin, it's all about us. I'm gonna always turn it back to us. I go from inside out. I'm not gonna do that thing, you know, because they're gonna be there. They're gonna do what they have to do because that's what people do. If they have power, they use it. You know, I don't know if it'd be different if we were in the other place, but I know we got to do some work, and I want us to do that. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
So thank you for that. Thank you for that, Drew. I agree with you 100%, man. I think, you know, earlier I mentioned it, Tyrone mentioned it, and you, Shy mentioned it, and you're mentioning it now. The work always have to start with us, man. You know, and here's the thing. I don't think that the conversation has ever been about solely the, you know, anybody else, white people, any other race. If white people has been mentioned or another race, I want it to be clear that when we're trying to work on us, we're just asking for no intervention. All we're asking is that we got so much to work on within us. We got the mental, like Tyrone said, we got the mental issues. We have economic issues. We have social issues. We have self-love issues. We have so many issues in our community to work on that we cannot take any distractions from anybody else. So that, in my opinion, racism is a distraction from us working on and building on ourselves. So when we talk about racism, you know, I know that, you know, I've had conversations where, you know, white people has made it seem like we're complaining, or we're being babies, or we're, you know, like we're complaining, like we're in the land of the free, home of the brave. You know, what other country could you do what you're doing, and so on and so forth. So they make it seem like we're complaining. Here, understand this, and I've had to explain. This narrative that Black people are lazy, this narrative that Black people are inherently violent, this narrative that Black people don't love their women, they men, these narratives that are created, they have to stop. And we have to be allowed to work on ourselves. We just don't need any type of interference or any distractions. But you're 100% correct, Drew. Like, we have to work on ourselves, and we have to hold ourselves accountable. And like Tyrone said, there's certain issues in our community that we need our allies to support us, stand beside us, but they cannot fix this issue for us. There's certain issues in our communities that we're gonna have to go to work and we're gonna have to fix. Now, on a positive note, and Drew, I'll leave this to you. I don't think, I've heard a lot of elders, and I've heard a lot of people who have put in the work before us have said that they've never seen such a heightened level of awareness as they're witnessing now. But it's a small window. It's a small window. And I believe that, on a positive note, if we can take this opportunity that we have where there's enlightenment happening, and there's actually action being taken, and there's so much activism being taken, and we could laser focus it in one direction, have one cause, have one goal, I think we would be on pace to, you know, to heal a lot of these wounds that our communities is going through. Drew, I'm right along with you, man. For us with Season Gives, we believe in solving a lot of these issues, whether it be mental, whether it be social, by going through it the economic way. Because in my opinion, the first language, and I say this all the time, the first language of this country is not English. The first language of this country is economics. And that's what we've been denied. So if we're denied economic, understand that we can talk all day about the violence that's happening in our communities, but if we're in a bubble, in a community starving for certain resources, there is no race, there is no community that wouldn't be doing the exact same things that people of color are doing in these communities if they were gentrified, if they were put in positions where economics is an issue, education is an issue. If name another culture, name another group of people, if they were put in positions of having to live in these neighborhoods and have to live under these conditions, tell me that they wouldn't be doing the same things. They would be doing the same things, and the conversation would be the same. So that's why, in my opinion, we have to uplift our community financially, educationally, we have to uplift our communities. In my opinion, that's where I stand with that. So I appreciate you, bro, on that.
My question just on top of that right quick is how and when do we start? That's always the question.
I think we're doing that right now, Drew.
Yeah.
Drew, I think honestly, honest to God, I know Harambe's been doing it. I know Season Gives, like we're doing it. We just had a meeting. We just had a meeting today with a legislator, with a gentleman that's working in Newburgh, that's actually that found us and wants to do the same things that we're doing, and he has connections politically. He's trying to build a community out in Newburgh where it's geared around Black-owned businesses. You know, it's happening. Harambe is doing it. You're doing it, Drew. We're doing it. So we can't look past that. You know what I'm saying? But I believe that if we start working closer together, I think that's what we have to do. I think if we start working closer together and we start being intentional and unapologetic, you know what I'm saying? We have to be intentional and unapologetic in how we're working together and collaborating for the cause. I think the conversations that I'm having with a lot of young Black adults, that's doing it. There's a different tone, even in Kingston and Saugerties, about Black-owned businesses now. That wasn't happening before. So, so in my opinion, I think it's happening. If you're talking about something that's more directive, I think it's for all of us to sit together and really make that happen, because the work is being put in. The work is being put in, and I think that there's things happening in our community. There's a different consciousness that's happening in our communities that's changing that. But I think that we have to direct our attentions deeper into our urban communities. I know that the conversation is not reaching the communities that's out there shooting at each other, that's out there hustling. You know, that community, somehow we have to reach that community. Because when we having these rallies and these protests, Drew, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm so happy to see our white allies, but it's very disheartening to see that we don't have our people in those attendances. We don't have our people listening to Tyrone's words or my words or Tamika's words. You know, a lot of the things that we're educating on, our people need to hear it. Our people need to hear it more than our white counterparts. So, you know, we have, somehow that's a conversation that we have to have later, I think. But in my opinion, that's the road that we have to travel. That's the road we have to go. Darian, I'm gonna leave it open to you, brother. I know you've been waiting a long time, but that's what you get for coming in late. So if you I don't know if you heard the question, brother. Did you hear the question on what the topic is?
Kind of a little bit. No.
All right. So
the question is, what are your experiences and what are the conversations you've been having regarding race?
I mean, as far as for conversations about race, I mean, I'm in a interracial relationship, so I've been having conversations with my fiance, people at work. I've ran into a lot of racist things that have happened in me and my business that I've been in with the car business. So I've been called a thug recently by someone in an email over me hanging out with my friends, and actually went to the extent of saying that she thought she was buying a car from a nice young man and he's nothing but a thug. As far as for that conversation went, I approached her when she actually came in, and I approached her with kindness, and I was just like, I don't understand. She kind of blew me off and didn't want to talk to me. Like everyone's been saying, approach people with, set the tone. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and lash out, but I can, but I'm pretty much just gonna attack you with intellectual conversation. And then if I feel that it's not going anywhere, I kind of just, all right, well, you're not going to understand. We'll agree to disagree. That's pretty much all I kind of have. I mean, I don't really, I haven't really been having the topic besides, with, other people that are agreeing with the loitering that's been going on with that when that was happening, but I haven't really touch base on it with really anyone. Kind of been in a completely different realm.
So, Darren, I'm just going to drop a little bit of information on our relationship a little bit. Darren is somebody that I've been talking to. You know, I've been talking to for over a year about owning his own, about entrepreneurship. Intelligent young man, very ambitious. Right now, he's gotten himself to be a 30+ a month car seller at Leah. And that's not something easy to do. So that's a major accomplishment. But he's working in an industry that's extremely, extremely racist. The car business, I worked in the car business for almost 20 years. And you'll be very pressed to find a black manager. I think Darian could tell you, it'd be hard to find a black manager. It'd be harder to find a black GM, and it'll be harder to find a black F&I. And it's even harder to find a black-owned dealership. So that's one of the things that I've been talking to Darian about. His boss is one of my best friends and closest friends, Matt Panero. Matt is a Trump supporter. You know, good dude though. He's a very good dude. But I'm very adamant. Like I said, I am more committed to my people than I am to any friendships. And I've been talking to Darian about branding himself, and he's done that. He's branded himself to the point of making his own clothing line associated with his cars and stuff like that. And it's by no mistake that he's ticked up. He's now become the top salesperson in that dealership. So I just want to commend you for that, man. I want to commend you for that and tell you to keep going. But we need a black-owned dealership out here, brother. That's what we need. That's what we need.
Actually, on input on that as well, as I've been looking into, there was actually an article in another conference that I was in, there was an article that came out about the 2 black women that actually in Jacksonville, Florida, that opened up the BP gas station.
Right.
So I've been talking into that. There's actually only like 5 black-owned gas stations.
Yeah.
And I've been looking into potentially, hopefully, trying to open up my own as well.
Well,
so I would like to do that as well as a dealership, but you know, that is something that I've been looking into, doing my own research, saving up some of my money to try and make that happen. Because everywhere you go here in Kingston, there's no black-owned really anything, but definitely not a gas station.
No, absolutely. All right, brother. So I think we have one more. Looks like Charlotte is gone. It looks like.
I have Sarah's story as well.
Sarah's here?
Yeah, well, I have her story. She messaged it to me since she's been having so many technical difficulties, and I can share it with you guys.
All right, that's great. Go ahead.
So she said, I went shopping with my 2 foster sons. They're African American. The cashier says, "Are those your kids?" She says, "Yeah." Cashier, "They must take after their father." To be honest, I didn't know what to say or how to take that. It was the first time in my life I was truly aware of racism. If my children were blonde hair and blue-eyed, I doubt the cashier would have said anything. But because my children, my eldest especially, is darker skinned, he felt the need to comment. I wish I could say that I spoke up. I didn't. I just stared at him and walked away. I will forever be ashamed that I didn't. I was told by dozens of people on Facebook that racism had nothing to do with it. She also just wanted to elaborate that she was taught by her family that racism wasn't a thing anymore. And she grew up in a Christian, a very strict Christian household that obviously Caucasian, and she's a child of a pastor. So
let me just chime in. I think Sarah may be listening. So one of the things that and anybody else can jump on this if you guys think I'm correct or I'm incorrect. Right now, we've gone from, and I want to say within the last maybe 30 years, the word nigger, right? The word nigger has transformed into poor credit, thug, you know,
Criminal.
criminal, super predator. So these racial, here's what has happened. And what happened is that racists have evolved. They've become more intelligent. They've become more strategic on calling you a nigger or classifying you without actually saying the word. Because what you find is that you have racism is now camouflaged, where people can now be racist and they can hide behind certain words. Now, my Harambe family, Jessica, talking about that, we experienced that in Rosendale, where the chief of police came up to the podium. We invited him up to the podium to speak on behalf of Black Lives Matter. Now, I'm gonna show you something. He was not able to say Black Lives Matter, but he masked it in all Black Lives Matter. Now think about that for a minute. He couldn't say Black Lives Matter, right? But to those who were listening, he had an allegiance to them. So he couldn't say blatantly Black Lives Matter, point blank, let's move on. He had to say, he used certain nuanced words, he used certain politically correct words to mask his inappropriateness to the movement. Okay? If we had known that he was going to do that, I doubt that we would have had him up there. But he had committed himself to, behind closed doors, that Black Lives Matter, when he met with Tyrone and he met with a couple of other, other Harambe members. But when he went up to that mic, he could not say it. He could not say Black Lives Matter, period. He said all lives matter. Okay? So there's different words that are being used now. There are different words and there's different type of innuendos that are being used that are now racial, that now what we're doing is we finding it hard in these conversations to have these racially charged conversations because they're hidden behind certain words. I just saw that Tyrone Paula want to speak. Okay.
Hey.
Hey sis, what's going on?
Hey everybody. So I just wanted to talk real quick. My personal experience with this being biracial and having biracial family members. I've had to cut off my own family. This has brought out things in my own family that I never saw growing up. I'm 38 years old and I've never saw my own family say some of the things that they're saying now. My own brother, who I couldn't believe the things he was posting, and he didn't even want to acknowledge that they were racist. He's like, I'm not racist. I don't know what you're talking about, People in my own family are posting things against Black Lives Matter, and they're not even acknowledging that one of their own family members is half Black. Their children are Black. Their partner is Black. So I've personally had to cut off my own family members, many of them.
Wow. I'm so sorry to hear that, man. I think that's the toughest part about all of this. Go ahead, Drew.
I just want to ask a question. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been having a lot of these conversations with a couple of good friends that have family that was like, okay, what do I do? Mm-hmm. And personally, this is just, like everybody have their own mindset and how they work. Yeah, it's not good. Cutting family off, I don't know. Personally, that's not something I would do. You just know your limitations and theirs. I have family that's like, I wouldn't bring any white girlfriend around them at all because I know kind of where they stand. And I don't want that person to be subjected to that type of, but to cut them off, I don't know if that's a thing, because, you know, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't cut them off. I wouldn't cut, I mean, I have friends that, you know, voted for Trump, and I'm like, yo, son, I don't like your actions. You're racist. I love you as a person. I don't like your actions. That's hard. It's not something that everybody could do, but that's what I do, you know. And when it comes to family, yeah, they kind of effed up sometimes, especially family. It's like if you want somebody to support your business, sometimes you can't go to family. You go to somebody else, because the family is like, yeah, yo, I'll holler at you later. Yeah, it's not gonna happen, and you don't hold it against them. But you know, you don't like the action, but you love the person. That's because it's family, and that's just how I feel about that, because I've dealt with that.
For me personally, I think I can agree to disagree with a lot of things with family.
Yeah.
Racism isn't one of them.
Yeah, but
Especially when you look at my children, like
right.
I
It just wouldn't change. It wouldn't change them, because you know, I just know that sometime to change. And this whole thing, this is, again, like I said, the way that I am. I think it's hard for a lot of people, but I can endure a lot because I deal with a lot. And if we go cutting every single person off based off what they say or their actions, nobody have any friends. That's real. Yes, people are going to be racist. And yes, closest families. And some people, it takes longer to grow. It takes time to change. And because you want them to change and they don't, is that something that you want to battle with? And when you do need family, will they still be there? They will probably be there to help you and your biracial kids out. Again, this is the other side of the coin. Like I said, there's that side. People like, yeah, good job. But when shit goes down, those people won't be there. Your family probably will. That's just like I said, that's just.
I think, you know, I don't know if there's a right answer to that. You know, like I said, I think if Drew deals with it that way, I think we respect that.
Yeah.
If you know, here's my thing. I'm a very spiritual person, and I feel like, you know, it's extremely important to have the right people in your space. And you know, I'm a true believer that I don't care if you're my mama. You know what I'm saying? If your energy is not matching mine, and it's not in connection with my creative process, I have the right. I have the God-given right to remove you out of my space. Now, I think like what Drew's saying, it doesn't mean you don't love them, but I believe that, you know, racist. Let me tell you something. Racist, in my opinion, is very demonic, man. Racism and hatred are one and the same. You know what I'm saying? And there's no here's the reality. When it comes to racism, there's no logic behind it. There's no logic to hate a person because of the way they look. There's no logic in that. You understand? So if a person can hate somebody because of their skin color and they've done you no wrong, that's another level of hatred that, you know, I don't think any of us can truly understand, because that's why we're here. That's why we're here for so many years saying, yo, like, you hate me for my skin color? You're not gonna understand that. And honestly, I don't even think racists understand why they hate people for their skin color. I'm gonna be honest with you.
But the thing about that is, you know, the hardest part is I do understand why racists hate people, because they were taught, like we were taught, to hate each other.
Right.
They were taught to hate Black people because that's what was instilled in them.
But there's a difference.
There's
a difference though, Drew. I'm gonna tell you why there's a difference.
Please do tell.
Us Black people hating each other, us having an issue with each other, there's a logic behind it, because we can trace it back to something, right? We can trace the way we interact with each other. We can actually point it to a certain timeline, and we can give a logical answer that we've been oppressed. We you know, our family's been dismantled. We've gone through spiritual discourse. We've gone through social. We can point it to something, right? But there is no origin base for a white person hating a black person for their color, because a person is born black. So there's no origin, or there's no logic. There's no logic behind it. Yes, they're taught to hate them, but I'm just talking about the origin factor of why it exists. You know what I'm saying? And if there's no origin factor for where it exists, if you can't diagnose a problem, how can you heal it?
Well, the thing about that is when you think about racist, if you're a racist, you already think these people are beneath you. That's the origin. The origin, these people are less than. They're less than people. And if they start to rise and they're less than me, who am I? I have to keep them down. It's what keeps me up here. So to me, that type of hate, and that's what was taught, if these people rise, they will take over. And these people that are almost like freaking, almost animals, cannot do that. And we will do anything. I mean, we will do anything to keep them down. We will destroy anything that they will put their hands on, or even if they don't need us, we'll make them need. It's just kind of what, I mean, I know we go back to when my dad told me about the Willie Litch papers, I was 8.
Right.
And when we started going through what he was teaching me about why hatred exists and how fear helps to, you know, it helps the growth of that type of thing.
Right.
Then no, I don't think it makes sense.
Right.
But I get it. Is it effed up? Yeah. But I get where the origins of their fears lie. Again, I don't think certain things have to make sense when you're talking about fear and protection of you and your family or whatever. It's dumb, it's unintelligent, but it's where certain minds come from. Again, those are certain minds, and I think on our side, you know, we show nothing but love. I swear, this is like the Jedi mind trick. The same people that have hung and killed and raped and pillaged and plundered our communities and our countries are the same people that's turning this whole thing around. Like we are we're the ones that are hated, that like we hate, we kill, we do. We never did that. That's not who we are as a people. We try to love. We try to constantly be forgiving. That's the nature of our people. So when it comes to how part of the tools that I start to create for myself to deal in a world that's filled with hate from not only our people, but all of these people who I know is going to hate me, but when I turn to my people and then it's still hate, no support. Right. Again, I make room for people to make mistakes. Okay, that's okay. Especially when it comes to my people. Time and time again. I'm sure you deal with it in business. With Darian talking about opening his stuff, opening his thing. The first thing I think is, who the hell is going to support you? Right. So I want to be real with my conversation. When as a person who owns a nonprofit organization, and I don't see my people, like even if it's free, they're not. Because I'm sure it's because of this. It can't be anything else. Right. What else? But everybody's everywhere else. So, you know, we got some things we got to deal with. But, you know, I'm just going back, like, you know, I can't promote, because of the person that I am, I can't promote hate and separation and cutting people off. I do agree with you, though, Brother Martin. You said, I keep some people that I don't feel have my energy at hand in terms of, you know, supporting good energy. You keep those people, whether it's my people or any people, keep them at distance, or they will suck the energy right out of you.
Can I speak on something right quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm gonna tell you why, you know, separation is important for me. Because, you know, if I didn't separate myself from my Harlem homeboys, my hood, and the rationale that we was at, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So separation is very important. You know, is very important because it does determine where you go in a lot of ways. You know, I know for a fact that if I was still on 131st Street between 7th and 8th Avenue, that wasn't Tyrone. That was Pop. That was a whole different breed. I had to understand that I needed to separate myself from that environment, from my boys who, you know, when I did separate, we didn't talk in forever, for years. But that separation was very much needed for my survival. Because if I was there, that wouldn't happen. I know for a fact that's dead or in jail, for a fact, no doubt about it. So separation is important. Now, for the matter of what I'm talking about, as far as what Paula had just described about her brother, there's no way in the world on God's green earth how the hell I'm going to let you around my kid talking the way you talking. And I don't care if it's her brother. I don't care if it's my brother. If you teaching that type of hate publicly, social media, there's no way in the world I can trust you leaving my child with you. Overnight, any type of, you know, to me, I put them on the same level as a predator. That's how serious it is for me. When you're talking about this hate that you're showing, and you've been around my kids, you've been around me forever. And my kids love him. My kids love him. So it wasn't just an easy decision to take my kids away, but for the safety of my kids, I need to take them away so they can see the world differently. Because that's me cutting that umbilical cord that I always talk about. You see that rotten spoil thing, you cut that umbilical cord. Cut it. Because if you don't, it's going to infest in your little ones. Just as we just sat here and talked about it being taught, well, that would have been taught, which I don't teach that in my household. So I'm not going to put my kids in an environment to be taught differently than what I teach them, regardless of what anybody may think. Separation is needed. Cutoff is needed. It's not like if a conversation had, as you said, Drew, about giving the space. I gave the space. I saw what he was saying. I reached out, had a conversation, tried to make sure that, hey, that was offensive. I don't know if you know that, on that type of approach. But when that approach happened, and you continue to do what you're doing and acting like, you want to brush it off, that is all means for me to either remove myself or knock your whole head off. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to put my hands on nobody. But I'm going to remove myself. And when I remove myself, don't you come in that space. So that's me letting you be who you wanted to be, who you choose to be, what you have the God-given right to be. You have the right to be that person. But I also have the right to separate myself from that type of environment, because I tried to, understand you a little bit and see if you understood it. And then you showed me that you understood it, and that's who you are. So then that's when my option comes in, that to separate, to cut you off, to not engage. For the safety of everybody, for the safety of him, for the safety of me, for the safety of my kids. It's a separation that is needed. So that's why I do a lot of my separations, because it's been very valid in my life. And my choices of separating who I needed to separate, who I needed to separate from.
Let's just say his decision was made because his son's a police officer. So.
Right, yeah, and that's a great point. His decision was made because his son is a police officer. And one of the things we fab in our minds and thought, like, okay, what if your son wasn't a police officer? How would you feel? Right. So are you this? And this is that space you're talking about, Drew, of options, of really trying to figure it out, work it out, and you can't answer that question, So it's basically you don't put all your eggs in the basket because your son is a police officer. Right. Who was related to my kids? Who's related to my kids? I defended your son. I defended your kid. I defended your daughter. So I'm only as good as when I'm defending them or stepping up to the plate or showing that they have a big black relative. So I'm only as good as that point? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So this is what I'm talking about. Yes, even, and I want to say this, and I'm gonna end with this. This journey, every person of color is not going to make it.
Nope.
We need to already understand that. We are not going to save 100% of the black community, of the people of color. We are not going to be able to save that. And some of them is going to have to be cut off. Some of them is going to have to be left behind. That comes with the territory. But we cannot have these chains and bricks on our ankles for moving up because we want to keep trying to save somebody who don't want to get saved. And that's how a lot of us get taken down too. Because we are extending the arm and they constantly keep swiping it away. Everybody's not going to survive this. And we have to just accept that. Because nobody survived 100% in anything that happened in the world. Look it up. Anything that happened in the world, nobody has survived it 100%. So we already know that fact. So now how do we be selective on who we helping, who we striving? Me, I'm going to give you the extra 1 and 2 go. I'm going to give you the extra hand I'm not going to deny you on the first rejection. Because I know there's walls that has to be penetrated. But there's some time where my drill doesn't get all the way to that wall and I just have to give up and move on. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
Dig it.
So listen, man, I think like I said, man, it's a powerful statement. I think both you brothers have great points, but you know, I definitely lean towards the side of you know, keeping people at bay, man. And it's true. And you know, I'm gonna close out because you know we're getting late, and I want everybody to go enjoy their Friday night. But I'm gonna close on this based on that last discussion. Kanye West a couple years ago made a statement that slavery was a choice, right? And that statement was so egregious. But here's the reality of what we're talking about. In the miseducation of his point, the narrative that black people were submissive and just walked on boats and stacked on each other and came to the Americas and just did what they were told, that's a false narrative. You understand what I'm saying? There were many revolts that happened in this very country right here. Okay, there were many revolts. And I mentioned it early in our conversation, but I'm going to mention it again for even those that weren't here, so that we can press on with what Tyrone just said and what Brother Drew just said. In Georgia, when ships landed in Georgia, okay, there were chain gangs, or there were chain slaves that when they came off those boats, they held hands. Many of them were women with their children, with their newborn children. And instead of walking on the shores to be captives and to be slaves, they turned around and they walked into the ocean with their children in arms. They made a decision that even for their children, it was better to die on their own terms than to be captives on somebody else's terms. So make no mistake, like Tyrone is saying, man, with freedom and with salvation, there's always a sacrifice, and you can't save everybody. You can't save everybody. But the important thing is to save the few and to pass on a legacy. So I want to thank everybody for coming on tonight. I want to close on that. I love each and every one of you. We'll be doing this again in 2 weeks. All right. I also want you guys to look out for Circulation of Our Dollar. We're going to be doing that on Monday. I will be posting up the information on that in Circulation of Our Dollar group. All right. If you guys haven't yet, please, before we sign out, I always like anytime we have these type of Zoom conferences, I love everybody to know everybody. Please share your phone number. Please share your emails. You know, look at this as a connection. And, you know, listen, peace, love, man. Peace and love for everybody, man.
Thank you, Martin.
All right. Thank you so much, Queen.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank y'all for letting me talk.
We love you, Jess. Hey, yo, Jess, I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious. We're going to talk about that text message. I'm not playing.
We're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
I'll have a full report after tomorrow for everybody.
Yeah, please do. Please
I will.
do. All right.
Trying to keep that to herself.
All right. No, oh, no.
Now, listen,
listen.
I'm gonna tell you right now. You know if it's going left because you're gonna hear breaking news in Rosendale.
Hey, yo, Jess, we got to move different with that. Now, it ain't going to be like that.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. It ain't going down like that.
There's going to be some breaking something, but it ain't going to be breaking news.
Oh, it's going to be breaking news. I'm going to put a uniform on.
It's the whole end of this.
All right, listen, love everybody. Thank you so much. Hey, Espia, the reason why I didn't have you talk because you text me and you said that you're on the road, so next time you have your opportunity, baby.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Martin, feel free to share my information. Y'all got my information.
All right. Yes.
Share it.
Yes, man.
All right.
All right.
I'm going to check y'all. I got to wash.
All right, cool.
Hey, y'all. Peace and love. And some hair grease, too. Don't be dry.
I'm weak.
I see y'all.
All right, later.
Bye.